Welcome, everyone. I'm Jerry Kruger, President of IABC Lincoln, and on behalf of the IABC Lincoln Board and our membership, I'm pleased to welcome you to our annual Leader in Communication Award celebration. Our award is modeled after IABC International's Excel Award program, which has recognized communication excellence in non-communication executives. Excel honorees have included CEOs from global and Fortune 500 companies. Similar to the Excel Award, our local honorees are those who exhibit leadership in fostering excellent communication and consistently demonstrate vision and leadership in their commitment to effective business communication. Previous recipients of our local award have included Tom Cassidy, Joe Starita, Dr. Steve Joel, Bob Carey, Chuck Hagel, Scott Young, and Christy Heinrichs. We are pleased to announce the 2015 recipient of our IABC Lincoln's Leader in Communication Award is Lincoln's Pastor Tom Barber, CEO of the People's City Mission. Pastor Tom's background includes broad work experience in both for-profit and nonprofit organizations. He has been the general manager for 2 large industrial equipment companies and began his career working with TRW in strategic planning and acquisitions. In 1992, Pastor Tom left business and joined the staff of Christ Place Church in Lincoln, Nebraska. He received pastoral ordination several years later. Pastor Tom has an MBA and a BA from Pepperdine University and has taught sales and marketing classes at UNL. In addition, he has consulted a number of local and national organizations regarding their strategic planning process. Pastor Tom joined the People's City Mission in November of 2004 and has helped the organization through a period of very rapid growth. This year, the mission will provide food, shelter, clothing, and medical care to over 30,000 unique individuals. It also operates the 3rd largest free medical clinic in the United States. Think about that, just the 3rd largest free medical clinic across the entire country. During Pastor Tom's 11 years of service, the mission has provided food, shelter, clothing, and medical care to almost 200,000 people in our community. What's the population of Lincoln now? I mean, that's serving almost everyone, and the equivalent of serving everyone in our community. Well done. Pastor Tom has been married for 40 years to Wendy Barber and has 3 children along with 8 great-grandchildren. Please join me in congratulating Pastor Tom on this very deserving honor. In addition to bestowing this honor on Pastor Tom, IABC Lincoln is also making a $100 donation to your organization.
Thank you
so
very much, guys.
Please accept this with our gratitude for the great work you and your team do for our community.
Wow, well, thank you, Jerry.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Thank
very
you,
welcome.
guys.
All right. So please take a few moments to share some thoughts.
You bet. Well, what do you mean by a few moments, brother? Is that an hour and a half?
Whatever you need.
I'm a Pentecostal
Whatever, we're
preacher.
indebted
Don't
to
tell
you.
me that. You'll
We're
be in
indebted
trouble.
to you, so whatever you need, Pastor.
I'll tell you what, I won't take too long. Guys, thank you. I really mean it. I'm honored and humbled, especially from a group of communicators to receive such an award. So thank you very, very much. And now I'd like to introduce you to the true heroes of the People's City Mission. I happen to have my staff here today with some board members. Would they just stand and can we just give them recognition? They're the real secret of the People's City Mission. Can they? If you guys would just stand. Tony? Thank you, guys. You know, guys, I'm a lucky man. I have a phenomenal staff. I think I have the best staff in town, but they are really great people, and I'm honored to work with them, and they're the reason for a lot of what happens at the mission. In fact, they're the primary reason. I guess I'm supposed to talk about poverty, and that's probably a good thing to talk about because it's a pressing problem. I just want to talk a few minutes, and if you're okay, I'd like to start with a story, and I'd also like to turn off my phone so that I don't embarrass myself. Okay, thank you. I'm going to tell you a story. It's about a young school teacher who had just gotten a job at an elementary school in their town. She had a class of fifth graders who were a pretty bright bunch, except for one. There's always got to be one, that sort of stands out. A few of you might have been that one. His name was Teddy. Teddy would come to class, hair uncombed, shirt untucked, smelled a little ripe, was inattentive, sullen. The young teacher was of good German stock and strongly held the belief that you reap what you sow. Good Midwesterner. You put nothing in, you get nothing out. Soon she became very unhappy with Teddy's behavior and made sure Teddy knew of her disapproval. He was way behind the other kids in his class, and that year continued to fall further behind. One day, while she was at the school office, she happened to glance down and see Teddy's school records. She opened them up, and to her amazement, his first grade report said, "Teddy is a good student, intellectually gifted, and shows a lot of potential." Second grade report read, "Teddy is a bright young man, but he's struggling emotionally. His mother is dying of cancer." The third grade report said, "Teddy is trying to keep up academically, but has severe emotional issues. He needs help." You see, his mother died that year, and his father isn't seeming to care much about his son. The young school teacher went back to her class, and she had a different attitude about Teddy. From then on, she took great interest in him, spent extra time with him, assisted him after class. Well, not surprisingly, Teddy's behavior began to change. He became more attentive. He finally caught up with his class. And at the last day of school, the kids all came up and gave small presents to their teacher. Teddy came up with a half bottle of used perfume and a bracelet with a stone missing. The other kids laughed at him, but the young school teacher quickly sprayed the perfume on and put a bracelet on and said, "Isn't that nice?" Well, the class settled down, said, "Yeah." They went on. When it was over, Teddy came up and said, "You smell just like my mom, and her bracelet looks good on you too." Story doesn't end there. She continued on helping Teddy until he graduated from high school. Some years later, she got a letter from Teddy saying, "I've graduated from college. Just thought you wanted to know." Years later, he got another letter saying, "I've become a pediatrician and was a doctor." So what does this have to do about poverty? Everything. You see, I don't think poverty is a money issue, it's a people issue. On one side, you have people who have gotten themselves to a bad situation. My script is not staying on this thing very well, so I won't even use it. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. I don't like podium script anyway. Sorry for you guys, but what does this have to do about poverty? It has everything, because on one side you've got people, and they have a bad situation, they're in trouble. They're grappling with past sins and mistakes. They're angry, they're mad, they're sad. In some cases, they're living without hope. On the other side, you got people who are having a hard time understanding what they see. They're put off by bad attitudes, inappropriate behaviors, what I often call this user mentality that sometimes poor people have, and they're totally unaware of the story behind what got them there in the first place and how difficult it is to get out of this situation. When I first came to the mission about my third year, and Jerry remember this, there's a guy named Grizz. Grizz was this big bicycle dude, about 250 pounds. You wouldn't want to meet him if he wasn't in the mission. A tough guy. Came in, sat down in my office, gave me what I've heard many years since, the story about how his wife divorced him, his kids left him, how he was abused as a kid, and on and on. And suddenly he stopped. He froze and he started to tear up and he said, "Pastor Tom, I have a bad habit and I don't know what to do." And he started to cry. And here's what hit me. Holy cow. I got bad habits. How many of you guys have bad habits? I'm a pastor. You can tell me.
I'm a sinner too, Pastor.
Okay. Well, stay with me. Focus on that bad habit a minute. Just for a minute. Now, add addiction to it. Not only is it a bad habit, now you're chemically addicted to that habit, whatever it is. I'm going to give you another layer. Social rejection. People around you don't like you, and they show it. And I'm going to give you one last one, which is really interesting. Lack of available resources. Do you know if you're a homeless guy underneath the bridge, unless you have family or friends, you probably don't have a chance of getting out of it? Here's why. Around the country, we have what we call Section 8 housing. Any of you have ever heard of it? It's how people get out of homelessness. The government pays for rent. If you're a woman and a child, you come to the mission. Amy's been in the family show 3 months, 4 months usually, and then they get their Section 8 housing voucher and the government pays it. If you're a guy, 2 years. 2 years. So you're going to come to our mission. I give you a month or 2 or 3. Tell me, how are you going to get a job, get an apartment, get back on your feet in that amount of time, and you're struggling with that bad habit? How do you do that? How about you don't? We tell Grizz to pull him up by his bootstraps. Here's the unfortunate truth. He's got no boots. And that's the problem. It isn't just that they made bad mistakes. I'm sure Grizz made a ton of bad mistakes. Have you guys ever made bad mistakes? I have. How would you like to have no hope now? There's a lot of Teddies out there. And that's the issue. Now, here's a great truth that I've learned since being at the mission I'll pass on to you. Poverty looks a lot different when you look at it through the eyes of a middle class person than it does through the eyes of somebody going through it. It looks a whole lot different. Because the people with middle class eyes don't see the story. It's a gap. It's a huge gap. And if we're going to close it, we're going to have to connect more to the poor, and we're going to have to learn more about the stories behind it. It's going to take people that are willing to take a look and be maybe a little inconvenienced to see what's happening. Doesn't mean you put up with their bad behavior or you excuse it, but it means take a moment to pause and try to see, am I looking at a Teddy and does he just need help? Does he need someone just to affirm him and come alongside? Is that all that's really missing? Because in most people's lives that are poor, that's what's missing. Now, the other thing is we need resources. We need more resources, but I'm not talking about upping taxes. You know, I'm okay with looking at the government for help. We just don't have to wait for them. Because the fact is, we got plenty of resources in the public. Tons of them. I noticed Scott Young was one of your siblings. You know, you could feed everybody in Lincoln 50 times over, and the food's not at the food bank. And it's not at the food net, and it's not at the mission. It's in your cupboards. If I could knock on the door, if the mission could knock on the door of everybody in this city once a month and just ask them for a can of peas or something they didn't want, you could feed everybody many times over. You have plenty of food. We do. We got plenty of stuff, clothing. Holy cow, we're doing, Wayne's laughing. You know how much clothing we collect? How many people have stuff in your closet you don't need? Do you know how many people that would clothe? How many times over that would clothe everybody that's poor? Stuff you just don't even want. See, I'm not talking about a few people giving a lot. It is a lot of people just giving a little bit. It could absolutely change the dynamics of poverty. Change it. It's there. The resources are there to do it. Time's another one. Do you know your time's probably the most valuable commodity you have? Not your money, it's your time. We talked about our free clinic. This year, Jerry, 17,000 patient visits, something crazy?
Probably close to 18.
18,000 patient visits on volunteers. That's double People's Health Co Clinic. On volunteers. People just giving their time. Our people who come here pay $0. You, the taxpayer, $0. We're just leveraging people's time. How many of you have skills? I mean, if I could, any lawyers in the crowd so I can tell a lawyer joke? You realize if I could get lawyers to do that twice a year, there's 600 or 800 lawyers or some crazy number. If I get half of them to give a couple times a year, just a half a day, you can provide a legal aid 10 times over to people in need. Our time's really important. And if you look at time and money and stuff, guys, we may not totally eliminate poverty, but we could certainly minimize it so its effects are almost zero to most of the people in the city. And that's just giving a little bit. That's not anyone bleeding, just giving a little bit. It's huge. The resources are in the public. That's where the government goes for their stuff, isn't it? Think about it. The government goes to you for you. That's where they get all their money, I think, right? Well, why not just pass them by and eliminate the middleman? I mean, the fact is, the resources are there. They really are. So I really believe poverty possibly can be at least largely eliminated in Lincoln if we could actually inspire enough people to do it. But it's a perception problem partly. When I speak, and how much time have I been speaking too? Because Cindy's looking at me going, come on. Just
You're
a
fine.
couple more thoughts. I promise I'll leave you. When I'm around Lincoln, I often say we don't have a poverty problem, we have a perception problem. And when I say that, here's what I'm really saying. Do we have poverty in Lincoln? Sure. As bad as other cities? I don't know, probably not. I mean, we're a little bit smaller than certainly LA, where I come from, and that I don't think it's as bad. The perception problem is people, don't understand it as well as they should. In Lincoln, I have found in my 11 years, very generous people, very caring people in Lincoln for the most part, absolutely no concept of the size and issue of poverty. But we do have it. Do you know in most cities around the country, about 1% of your population, or at least up to 1%, can be homeless? We think of ourselves as a little city. We're not that little. You know what 1% of Lincoln is? 2,800 homeless people. Now, if I just came and said, hey, we have 2,800 homeless people, you'd probably go, oh, what are you talking about? I don't see that many guys on the street. Well, no, you don't, because most of the homeless aren't guys on the street. Most of the homeless in Lincoln are women and kids staying with family and friends and escaping domestic abuse, which is by far the leading cause of homelessness in Lincoln. Because here's another stat. 1 in 4 women around the United States federally are being abused. 1 in 4, ladies. Now, maybe it's 1 in 5 in Lincoln. We got this German Lutheran thing going through our city, so maybe we're 1 in 5. Okay, it might be. Okay, we're 1 in 5. Okay, what's 20% of the women in Lincoln? And add their kids to it. And let's say just 5% need to leave home. Do you know how many thousands of women that is? We don't have any facilities for any of that. So there are, and most women who get in that trouble, they stay with family or friends. If they don't, then they come to the mission. Omaha has 4 shelters bigger than the mission. We're half the size of Omaha, guys. 4 shelters bigger than the mission. There's just one of us as a major general shelter. We are doing 30 to 40% of Omaha per capita, and they're not cutting edge. I'm just sharing with the facts. How about another one? I hear politicians in particular, and I understand, brag about how we have such a low unemployment rate. Have you heard that? Oh man, we're really low. We should be proud of that, by the way. No, nothing against that. You know what the unemployment rate is? Yeah, it's really high. You know how many people are living a hiccup away from being in trouble? A lot of folks. We have issues of poverty. They're not greater than any other city, but they're bigger than anybody can imagine. And the only way we're going to solve it is if we start to connect more to it, understand it, do a little bit of our part. And you know what that's going to require? Communication. Good communication. That's what's missing in this whole thing. And that's why you guys are so important to the fight on poverty. You have the skills, what's needed, to really help solve this more than you can imagine. And my encouragement is, if you're not already, join the fight a little bit on poverty. Get involved in a board somewhere, but connect, because you guys can add so much to this, and you can really help us really try to stem the tide of what has been a growing problem in Lincoln. Anyway, guys, thank you for having me. I'm really honored by this, and God bless you guys also. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.